welcome to the March 21st edition of North College Hill City Council. As always, we will start with our prayer. If everyone will please rise. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Amen. Call this meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just trying to trip me
Sorry,
up there.
I apologize. At least I can call it the national anthem. All right, good evening, everyone. Mr. Hedger, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Dukestein.
Present.
DeWall.
Here.
Underwood. Zorb.
Here.
Blythe.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood did contact me and say she would be unable to attend tonight.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I would like to make a motion to excuse Ms. Underwood from this meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I'll second that.
Motion from Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. DeWald to excuse Ms. Underwood from the meeting tonight. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Dukestein.
Present.
DeWall.
I'm sorry, yes. Yes.
Excuse me. Zorb.
Here.
No.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
See, now I'm.
Blythe.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes. Just following along.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, we think it did.
All right, you have tonight's agenda in front of you.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Anderson to adopt tonight's agenda. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Dukestein.
Yes.
DeWall.
Yes.
Zorb.
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. All right, you have the minutes from the meeting on March 7th.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I make a motion to adopt or approve the minutes of the 7th.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Anderson to approve the minutes from 3-7. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Dukestein.
Yes.
DeWall.
Yes.
Zorb.
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hedger, what communication do we have tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. We received, I'll start off here, we received several communications from Mimi Anderson, Julie Zinzer, and several other residents as well concerning the resurfacing of Loran and Dordyne lanes for their curbs are crumbling and is long overdue for replacement. And then we also received several communication from a Chris Weilerman concerning the increase of, excuse me, what is this? The rental permit application from last year. And that will be in your inboxes for that. And then we also received, again, a second notice to file your Ohio Ethics Commission. The due date is May 16th, 2022. And then also in your inbox or email, I have attached the mayor's court report for January and February. I believe that is all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hedger. Any questions for the clerk?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Man.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Wald.
Mr. Hedger, is that just a 2-page document, that email? That, can you tell? From what I can see, it looks like it just might be,
The email I just sent recently.
oh,
Which
that's the
email?
building department. Okay, would you be able to print that off for me, please?
I've tried to print it and my computer freezes every time I try.
Okay,
So
well.
I will
Mr.
try
President.
again.
No, that's okay. So I've received that one. What other email were you referring to from Miss Anderson, Mimi Anderson?
It was, I just sent it out before the meeting. We received several communications today from residents.
Okay, I found it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Anderson, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you would like me to print out that, the document she's talking about has the person's handwriting on the top and then like a formal document on the bottom.
Right.
Okay, I can try to print it really quickly.
Thank you.
You're all welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hedger. Up next is council committees, city community development and recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we were unable to meet last week on the 14th due to not enough members being able to come. A lot of members had a lot of personal things going on, and so no fault to them at all. We can definitely cover that all next month on April 11th at 6:30 here in council chambers.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Yes, Ms. Zorb?
I do have a question. I am on the Tree City USA Board, and we do have some items that are going to be time sensitive. How, do you want to just, you and I get together and we talk about it and get that to Ron? Okay,
I think that makes most sense. Yeah, just email or text me and we can figure out a time to meet.
okay, thank you.
Okay, up next, budget and finance.
I'm sorry, we did not meet. Our meeting was canceled also.
So you will get together again on April 11th at 7:30.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Let's see, rules and public policy. Ms. Underwood is not here. Does anyone have an update?
Mr. President, they haven't met since
That is true,
last
yes.
meeting, so neither Rules and Public Policy nor Public Safety.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I can tell you the next meeting date and time
Sounds
for
good.
both. The next day for both is April 25th. Or sorry, no it's not. The next day is March 28th. And rules and public policies at 6:30, public safety is at 7:30.
thank you, ma'am. Any ad hoc reports?
I have a slight one from the CIC meeting. I don't have everything, but if anyone can fill in, that'll be great. We discussed how to simplify the notice for the next comprehensive plan survey and to get the word out to more residents. I think they noted that maybe some residents may not have known what a stakeholder was, so maybe we should say citizen or resident. And they also wanted to get the notice out earlier to residents. And on Friday, 16 people attended the comprehensive plan meeting. And then Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. it was open and people just came and went. Also regarding Wise Park, this is regarding the upgrade. It says there is a brick wall in the park that may have been part of Mr. Wise's house. Also, there are 2 trees at the park that are in very bad shape, so they're thinking that maybe one of the trees might have to be taken down before the remodeling process. Let's see. And by March 30th, the CIC will have 11 designs by Cincinnati State and Technical College. And we also plan at this time to use the Cincinnati State landscapers. And also positive news, the Chamber of Commerce donated $1,500 to the renovation of Wise Park. and it will be the city's responsibility to maintain the park. And also, Mr. Jim Friedman is planning a huge dedication of Wise Park on Labor Day 2022. I already talked about that. And then the estimate for the project at this time to renovate Wise Park is about $10,000. And there was more said, but I didn't get notes on that. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I have a couple questions, if you have the answers. So you said the project is budgeted at 10,000, but they're donating 1,500? Do you know what's covering the gap? Is that the city?
Well, what I had heard at the meeting that it was gonna be, this probably doesn't add up, 3,300 per, the city, Chamber of Commerce, and then also the donors. However, whatever the city and the Chamber of Commerce come up with, I heard that the donors will complete the rest. However, Mr. Mosby will probably know a little bit more about that.
Okay. And then my second question is, because, as I just mentioned, I'm on the Tree City USA Board for North College Hill. Do you know if a certified arborist has looked at that tree?
I'm not sure. I believe they have, and if they haven't, they are coming out. I forgot the lady's name at CIC. I always, is it Carol? Her
Yes.
last name. If they haven't come out, then the arborists are coming out to examine both of these trees. And they were up with the house. I mean, the trees are probably like 100 years old. But one of them.
I'm very
She
familiar
says
with the trees.
Yeah, and she said one of them was in bad shape and might not be able to be saved.
Okay. As long as the arborists, that's an arborist's opinion and not a
Yeah.
citizen walking by's
So-
opinion.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Yeah, arborist is coming out.
Ms. Nichols?
It was actually the gentleman who, from Cincinnati State, who initially said to her, this tree looks like it's dying, and they are gonna have an arborist come out to assess the tree, to make sure that in fact that it is dying, dead, and then determine if it needs to be removed.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Ms. Blythe. Any other ad hoc reports?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. DeWald?
I would just like to add a little bit to the Wise Park. Ms. Orb and I both belong to an organization that on cleanup day in North College Hill, we replant flowers, mulch, trim back the bushes as much as we can, and it takes a lot of work to get it done because we're only there a couple times a year. But the flowers and stuff all come from our organization, so I don't know if they're gonna want us to continue that once they, gussy it up. So that might be something that could be brought to them.
They're doing an entire overhaul of the park.
Right.
Flowers, trees.
So, yeah, so we might just be able to step back from that.
I think, Mrs. Orb, I briefly mentioned to you about trees, did I not? We
If
said
you
something-
did, it slipped my
slipped
mind.
your mind.
How's that?
Yeah, they're redoing everything. They're looking into the brick, the plaque, the flowers, the trees, everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that brick wall, especially the driveway going into the Family Dollar, has been under a lot of stress. We've reported the big broken chip part for years, and I
it
guess
was
there's no way to
mentioned that
fix
some
it.
of those bricks may have even come from the house. I don't know how true that is.
Right,
I'm not sure, so.
and, yeah. And then, Mr. President, are we
Go ahead.
done with, I have a quick thing about the senior center. The secretary for the senior center board contacted me. The last meeting we had in December, we talked about getting grant money to update their bathrooms. So I spoke, did I send you something about this, Ron? I think I did, quick.
You spoke by phone.
Okay, yeah. So I spoke with Mr. Mosby about it. They want to report on it tomorrow is our next meeting. So I think I will just tell them that they need to contact the city in order to look at any grant money. Is that how that would work?
We don't necessarily have any grant money. What I said to you was that we could certainly help look for some.
That's what I
that.
said.
Sorry.
So they should be contacting, like Brandy May, the director should be contacting the city. How else are you gonna know what to look for?
Oh, you mean as far as asking, well, what I'm asking is, or maybe I didn't understand, she's contacting the city not for grant money, but for some kind of guidance or assistance?
No.
Okay,
When I spoke with you, I asked how that worked, and you said it would be through grant money.
correct.
So I want to make sure that I get the right message to them, that they need to contact the city to, I mean, how does that work?
Well, that's what I mean. So we don't, the city, of course, doesn't have grant money, unless, of course, council said, hey, do you want to grant them that?
Yeah.
The grants that I was talking about would just be grants that people would get either from, perhaps the county has some money, they may.
So,
or-
that was my question. Do they contact the city to look for grant money? Who do they contact to look for grant
No,
money?
they would contact any of the, like I said, county. They might, there is a website that I could share with them, that has potential grant sources based on, the type of need that they have. And that's what I was saying to you, that I would certainly be happy to, give them some of those, sources. So that's what they would, if she did, that's what I would be giving her.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I never offered up any money to them.
Correct, right.
They're just asking me the process. I mean, it's like, I don't do grants.
Right.
I'll have to find out. So, all right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I just have a clarification question. Because the city doesn't, like, the senior center is separate from the city, right? Like, the senior center isn't owned.
It's
by
its
the
own 501c3 organization, yes.
city. Right.
What happens is, I think and this is what I was also telling Mr. Wald, is we have an arrangement where the city is an agent, we're a pass-through. We have a levy, the city has a levy, the property owners pay a portion. That money comes through the county, goes directly to the senior center, but it comes through us. So whenever we get the disbursements from the county, we just take a check and give it to them.
Any other ad hoc reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have anything, but we're gonna do it the repeat with the Food Truck Friday. We're still gonna stick with April 1st. I do know that we have 3 that are definitely coming. We're still looking into others coming. So it's gonna be the same time, 4 to 7 on April 1st. We will not have the Easter egg hunt this year. I understand it was more like a Easter egg grab. It's hard to find someone to get in that costume, and just where we usually have it is under construction, I believe, at the high school. I don't think we can get on their field, and there's really not another location to have it, so we will not have that. We will be having the Memorial Day Parade. That will be that Saturday. I'm sorry, May, I want to say 28th.
29th, I believe.
It's the 28th, Saturday.
okay.
Mhm. May 28th. More details to come. If you're interested, there is a form out there. It should be on our website, on the Facebook page. You can fill that out and send it back to us. And that's all I have.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
Madam Mayor, I know historically the city would reach out to a Jeep group and they would use those vehicles to drive council members in the parade.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea if that will happen again, or should we try to source our own?
I can look
Vehicles.
into it to see if it's something that they're gonna do. I know I was told today there was an email list. I'm not sure what was on that email list, what it's compiled of, but I can check to see if there's a Jeep group. I do know that they did have those before several years, so we'll look into it to see. And I think well, no, we probably don't have time, so we probably need to find out now in case they get booked up for that time, so we'll look into it this week.
Or
Yeah.
so we can start finding friends that have
Yeah.
Jeeps.
Yeah.
No.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll turn it over to the city administrator for his report. Good evening, Mr. Mosby.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you. I think I'd like to begin, first of all, by just publicly expressing my condolences to Councilmember Dukes Dean on the loss of her mother. I'm very sorry for your loss, and I just will keep you in our prayers. As the mayor did say, we will be having the Food Truck Friday, which right now we are planning for April the 1st. There's only one more thing that I wanted to address, and Mr. Hedger had mentioned it. He said that there were several pieces of correspondence that came through regarding Loran and Dordyne and the repair of those streets. There is something that I would like to discuss at new business with the members of council that are here, so I will just kind of wait till that time. I guess finally we do have, tomorrow we will have a new rec director. Her name is Annalise Clear, and she is also a resident of North College Hill. She does come to us with what I consider to be some significant fundraising experience and definitely some programming experience. So we're looking forward to what she will bring to the city to help with our getting our recreation program off the ground. That's all I have, Mr. President.
That's good news on the new rec director.
Yes, it is.
Mr. President.
I assume that makes you happy, Ms. Anderson. Ms. DeWald.
One thing I think we should add to the accolades of Miss Annalise Clear is that she is a true supporter of North College Hill and cares. She has sent us an email a while back that was full of a lot of information, and it just showed her heart, and I think she's going to be a good fit just with that email.
All right, thank you for the report, Mr. Mosby. Move on to the law director's report. Thank you. And the finance director's report.
Good evening. I do have a few things here. We would like to go ahead and get the resolution passed for the UAN software because within 13 months, our CMI programming will be gone. They are eliminating that. So it is something that, the sooner that we can get it passed and up to the auditor, we can begin our process here. And then I do believe Mr. Mosby had sent out to you electronically the financial statement from Milhoff Stang. There was one thing I, did want to address. There was we did have an adjustment of $236,194, and that consists of 3 items. The first one being an $84,000 entry, which was a write-off from our tax account. The second one-time adjustment of $27,000 was from outstanding checks from the past 5, 6, 10 years. And we had one more adjustment of $124,000, which was reporting Rita, because what they had done in the past is they were reporting in December what they received in January. So we had to take that back out because it didn't happen in that month.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? They're reporting, what was the month offset?
So for December, we get our payment in January, and they were reporting that payment in December, but it didn't really happen in December since we're on a cash basis. So we had to take that entry out and put it back into the correct month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that all?
And then I will have to you January and February's month end, hopefully within this next week, because I had to wait for some training to enable me to close those months. So we did get January closed, so that's a good thing, and February should come this week.
Thank you, ma'am. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for the finance director?
Mr. President, I have
Ms. Orb?
a comment, not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to make sure you understand that there's no way we can suspend readings on that software this evening. You have to have 6 people to do that, and we do not have 6 in attendance. So I just wanted to make sure you understood why we won't do that tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Orb.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to call of members. Ms. Dukestein.
I just want to say thank you. I'm certainly not back to myself, but I just want to say thank you, everybody who attended services, sent cards, sent flowers. I can't lie, it's been super tough, and I just appreciate the kind condolences and words and prayers and thoughts from myself and my family. And if you would just kind of continue in that journey for me, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein, and yes, you will continue in your family in our prayers. Ms. DeWald.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to commend Ms. Dukestein for being here tonight. It tears me up to know the pain you're going through and then to be here. So I appreciate that. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. Ms. Zorb.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blythe.
Hi, I just want to let you know that we will keep you in our prayers. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
I have nothing to report tonight, but I do want to extend my apologies and my condolences as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're up to remarks from the audience. Did you wish to address council this evening, ma'am? Okay. You don't have anybody signed in, correct?
Sir.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move to legislation. Mr. Hedger.
So, second reading, resolution number 9, 2022, a resolution to approve an agreement with the Ohio Auditor of State to participate in the Uniform Accounting Network. Second reading, resolution number 11, 2022, a resolution to authorize the city administrator to execute a collective bargaining agreement between the city of North College Hill and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, Inc.
Thank you, Mr. Hedger. All right, next is further remarks from the audience. I will assume nobody still wants us to address council. All right, old business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I know this is old business, but at the comprehensive plan meetings, there were a lot of citizens who were asking questions about street cleanliness and the street sweeper, and I promise I'm not even the one who brought it up. I promise. But they were asking, and it reminded me that I know we still haven't gotten the schedule yet on that or anything posted, and so I just want to give a friendly, kind, peaceful reminder to administration that we would really like to see that schedule at some point. I know you guys are busy with a lot of other stuff, but I know that that's on the top of the list for people in the city, not just for council members, but a lot of people in the city. So just a friendly reminder that we would love to see that schedule, please.
Any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Go ahead, Mr. Mosby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, I was contacted by our engineering consultant, and I was made aware that the county has available monies for loan to improve some of our streets, specifically Loran and Dordyne. I'm bringing this up to council for two reasons. Number one, I did present a similar opportunity last year. Council voted it down, and that was for Prospect Place. When this money becomes available, it's typically because these projects don't score high enough for a grant, but the zero interest loan money is available. By doing these streets at that time, it actually puts us somewhat ahead of our plan for maintaining our streets, which is, of course, one of the things that we are supposed to be doing with the revenues that we have. So the amount of money that we're looking at is about $744,000. It would be enough to repair both Loran and Dordyne. However, the reason I'm bringing it up here is because instead of me asking our law directors to draft an ordinance and then have to put it through committee and spend time with it, I would like to get a feel from council tonight, if there is any interest, because if there is not, then I want to go back to the county immediately and tell them that we will pass and that they can offer the money to someone else. And so, Mr. President, I'm asking in the form of a motion that would be passed by council if they direct us, the administration, to draft an ordinance that would be able to be considered for from passage.
Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson?
So two things. One of them's kind of long. The first one, so I live on Loran and right next to Dordyne. I think that's how you pronounce it, Dordyne. I know that's how the residents pronounce it. But I called Mr. Dieters and asked him if I'm allowed to comment and vote on this, even though if I live there. And he said that I am definitely allowed to do all of the above. But with that being said, so I know that we were looking at Prospect. It was because Prospect wasn't on the list to be done with the street levy. But I know that Loran and Dordyne are both on the list to be done with the street levy. So basically what I'm saying is, if we take this money for the loan with no interest and pay it back, I'm guessing, with the general fund, with the money that is now freed in the street levy, then would that be able to be used on a different street, or would it just kind of be sitting there because it was put aside for Loran and Dordyne? Does that make sense, my question?
I can actually answer your question specifically. The money that we would use to pay back the loan, which would be about $25,000 a year for 30 years, would come from the street levy. So we wouldn't be using general fund money to pay the money to pay it back.
Would it be the same amount of money coming from the street, like would that be the same amount of money coming from the street levy to pay for this loan as it would be if we just spent it right out of the street levy?
I'm not sure.
So if we take this loan and
Correct.
we pay it back, and we take the money out of the street levy to pay it back, would that be the same amount of money as if we just spent the street levy money instead of going through a third party with a loan? Or would it be cheaper?
Yeah, I mean, either way. I mean, because it's a zero interest loan, whether it was taken out in a lump sum or paid back over smaller amounts over 30 years, it's still going to be the same money.
Okay.
Yes.
And then my next question would be, then why, if we already have the money set aside to do this, then why would we take out a loan to do it when we could just do it from the street levy money?
We would pay the money back using the street levy, but we would pay it back in smaller increments over 30 years. That's why.
So the perks would be that we could pay it back over a bunch of years rather than just paying it with the money that we already
Correct.
have.
Instead of paying one large lump sum money out of our fund.
If we already have that money though to pay it, what's the perk of doing it over a long period of time?
Oh, well, the immediate perk, if I understand you correctly, is by doing that, we're able to actually get more streets repaired. Because you're not paying a lump sum money, $700,000. We're not paying that out just to repair the streets. If you're paying it over a smaller period of time, you have more money available to use to repair other streets.
But you don't really, because you're still paying the same amount of money. So you don't have more money magically because you're paying it over a longer period of time.
So Ms. Anderson, if you heard what Kirsten said, when she was talking about we operate on a cash basis, whenever our money, if we're operating on a cash basis and we paid all of that money out at one time for the repair of the 2 streets, that would significantly reduce our available balance in our street levy fund. If we do it over a period of time, instead of taking $700,000 out at one time, you're taking $25,000 out a year, which then leaves you a balance of, I don't know, basically you would have over $700,000 to be able to use for perhaps other projects that become available. So you're not taking all of the money at one time and then putting it toward a particular project.
Am I the only one?
No,
who
you're
is-
not the
Okay,
only
because that just doesn't, because either way, you're taking out the same amount of money, whether we owe it for a long time or we just pay it to, and we get it done with and we pay it. Because you're not gonna have more money. In fact, we're gonna have less money at the end of that one probably. Because we have a lot of extra money right now with COVID stuff.
We don't have I'm sorry, Ms. Anderson, we don't have extra money. Not even with COVID, those monies were already either used for a purpose, and primarily those monies were used for our police and fire. So we don't have that money. And we are talking about, as you had rightly mentioned earlier, we're talking about money from our street levy. So that's money that is dedicated primarily for the repair of the streets.
Right, and so that's designated, so it's a set amount, right?
It's a restricted fund, yes.
Right, so we wouldn't have more money. I don't understand how we would have more money if we pay it over a long period of time than if we paid it once.
All right, I'll
I
give you an
go and
example.
I
No, I'll
buy-
give you an example. Let's say, and these are just hypothetical amounts, but let's just say, as of today, we have $1 million in our street fund. If we did it, what you said, and we said, okay, we will pay for those 2 streets using that money for this year, we would pay $744,000, which would leave us about $256,000 left. If we did it via the loan, we would pay $25,000 out, which leaves us $975,000.
But not really, because you still have to pay a bunch of that money eventually. We don't really have that money because it's gonna be going towards the loan.
We have the money, and because we operate on a cash basis, that gives us more money available to do other things that we may need to do throughout the year. So yes, it does. Even though over the period of time that you're talking about, and actually with the time value of money, with the fact that it's a 0% interest loan, we're actually making out, because typically what happens is inflation causes the value of the dollar to get lower. So quite frankly, we are actually getting a benefit from that because we're not paying it immediately, and we're actually extending it over a longer period of time.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Ms. Zorb?
Mr. Mosby, can you help me with something? Because I feel like we get money from someone. Is it the county for when we repave streets?
Every year, council does pass what is called our
Skip
skip
funds.
LTIP resolution. That is the money that is used, as you pointed out, and typically what we do is there are projects that if we are awarded those projects, they're usually in the form of a 50-50 split, meaning that we will pay that we would receive 50% of the entire cost in grants, and then the remaining 50% would be in loans. That's generally what happens. Now, in the past, it used to be 80-20. They've reduced that, and so now it's 50.
So is there any effect of the skip funds versus,
They are skip funds that we're talking about.
now you really lost me. So this 744 that we're talking about, that's all skip funds?
That's correct.
So is that our half?
No,
Of the-
that would be the entire amount that we would borrow to fund the repair of the streets.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
I think in order to make a sound decision, I would need to know, we are leasing cars for the departments. Can you help me recall how many cars we plan on leasing this year?
We have leased 2 police cars for the police department. We have not yet leased, but we are in line to receive 1 car for not buildings inspections, code enforcement. Right.
Any leasing vehicles for the fire department?
No.
So then next year we would lease more cars for the police department?
Correct. If that is the plan, yes.
So we would have 2 leased this year, or possible 1 more next year, leasing until we get the whole fleet leased?
Correct.
So there's endless amounts of money that is going out for vehicles. And I'm on the same page with Ms. Anderson. Why would we make a payment of $25,000 for 30 years when we are going to increase our expenditures for leased vehicles? It just doesn't wash. I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't seem to be.
Mr. President,
I want to choose the right word. It just doesn't seem to be financially stable to do that.
Ms. Nichols.
I just wanted to make a statement, comment. I hear what everyone is saying, where you don't think it's financially feasible, but when I'm looking back through the emails, apparently there was something that didn't happen where we did not receive the grant money. So they offered the funds as, okay, you didn't receive the grant money. When we looked at this street, it really needs to be done. So this is what we'll do. I mean, I'm not saying that we should take 30 years to pay it, but I'm saying we'll get in the same situation as we did with Prospect Place. That street really needs to be repaired, and we missed that opportunity. They even have like little areas that flood, and that was the purpose of some of the letters that came in today that Mr. Hedger sent us from the residents, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
on that particular street, Prospect Place is already in line for a year or 2 down the road to be repaired.
So they give the funds, they have the extra funds, and they say, hey, if you want to do it now, because what happens with things is wear and tear over years. It's not going to get any better unless somebody goes out there that lives on the street and say, I'm just going to throw some concrete here to fix it to make it get better.
But what I'm trying to say is I think we're facing the same situation. We were looking to borrow money then, a 0-interest loan, to fix a street that's going to be, it's on target for levy money, grant money, however you want to word it, for I think 2 years from the date that we discussed it. So we're doing the same thing with Lorraine and Dordyne. They're on target for the program to work that we've worked with for decades from the public works or the public funding. So why would we want to borrow money if we know that we're going to get grant money for it?
We
Mr.
don't know that
President.
we're going to get
Right.
grant money
That's
for
what
it.
I'm
That's the
saying.
whole
Mr.
point.
President.
Yeah, you don't necessarily know that you'll get the grant money, or you don't necessarily know if you'll get the full amount. Whatever happened, whatever they saw when they came out for that area, we weren't approved for the grant money. So now, either way, if we want it fixed, we have to borrow.
Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson.
So I was under the impression that all of the streets on the street levy agenda on the plan, we had the money and it was set up for this year to be used. Is that a wrong assumption?
That would be an incorrect assumption, yes.
Okay, because that's how it was presented to council, was that these are the streets that we have money and that the levy is going to cover at this time, and this is what they've already approved to do. And so I think that's where a big miscommunication has come, is that council was under the impression that all of these streets were gonna get done. And Prospect Place, at the time that we were looking at that, I could be confused, but I thought it wasn't even on the street levy agenda. And so that's why I was in support of this for Prospect Place, because it would have put it on an agenda, not the street levy. What I'm perplexed with is that Lorraine and Dordyne were already on the street levy agenda. But now we're being told that, oh, just because it's on the street levy plan for 2024 doesn't mean it's actually gonna get done. We just hope it will. Like, don't tell us it's going to, because that paints an entirely different picture. If that's true, then I can see accepting this no interest loan. But in the beginning, you did not tell us that, and that was not made clear to us.
Ms. Anderson, every year, council has to approve a resolution saying that we will apply for SCIP funds. The SCIP funds, which Ms. Zorb was stating, which are basically, these are our state construction improvement project funds. These are funds that are made available to all the municipalities. And in our case, in the particular district that we're in, we have a committee, and that committee gets together every year, the integrating committee, and they determine a rating for all of the projects that are submitted. And if our projects then make the cut, which we cannot, we can't make them make the cut, but if they happen to make the cut, then we typically get what we would call a 50-50 split, which means that we get a 50% grant and 50% of it is loan money.
Right, and I was under the impression that Loran and Dordean were already approved bad enough to be covered. That list that we were sent out of like
Correct.
this is the 22 schedule, this is the 2023, this is the 2024. I was told at the time that those streets were already approved as bad enough to be fixed with the 50-50 stuff. I understand how that stuff works, but what I'm saying is it was miscommunicated to us that those were already covered. If those aren't covered, then I wish it would have been explained to us a different
Well-
way, but that's fine. But so are Loran and Dordean not at all guaranteed to be covered by the 50-50?
Well, I would probably differ with you, Ms. Anderson, that it wasn't communicated. What I've made clear is that we do have priorities for the streets, and I have made that list available. And as I said, the SCIP funds that become available for the 50-50 are something that is determined by this integrating committee, and they do that every year. So our priorities for the streets is something that we do, and then, of course, we have to depend on the county integrating committee in order for us to determine what monies would be received. So when I say that we have it on the schedule for 2024, in other words, we're projecting out that this is when we would like to have these streets done, that's our wish list, but there's no guarantee that we would necessarily get funding for it. I can't guarantee that for any of the projects that we put forth. So that's all of that is, and I do want to make that extremely clear if anyone else was confused by that.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Orb.
So I'm going to chime in and say I was absolutely on the same bandwagon with Ms. Anderson. So I guess I need to back up for a second. So I know there was another resident that sent us a video of how horrible his street was, and this happened back in November. And at that time, we talked about it in, it probably was public safety, because Ms. Underwood was running the show. And I was given a list, and it was Baywood, Bobolink, Joseph, Oak Knoll, Dodgen, Corcoran, Loran, Prospect Place, and Dordine. I'm probably saying it wrong now. Dordine.
If you don't live there, it's
so-
Dordine.
Okay. We all know who I'm talking about. So, and I was told that those would be done in the next couple of years. So I guess do we only, my confusion is, I think goes even greater than yours. Do we only do streets if they pass this skip fund test? Or do we ever pay full price for a street because we've already determined that it needs to be done? I guess I don't know what this process is.
Well, my understanding, and not from Ms. Anderson, but from previous council members, is apparently that was a practice in previous councils to basically do like a street and then pay 100% cash, for that project out of whatever available funds we had in the levy. So I actually understood what Ms. Anderson was talking about because I had heard that one myself in the past. I don't think that that's a good practice because you won't be able to get more streets done. And that's one of the 3 jobs that our city does. We provide law enforcement, we provide fire suppression and emergency medical services, and we need to maintain our streets. Those are the 3 things that we should be doing. So I do agree that, and I don't know if it was when you were on council or not, but I will say that I had heard from previous councils that that was the practice that they would do, is take whatever monies that were available in that particular street levy fund, and they would pay out cash to do whatever streets were available. And if they didn't have the money to do it, then streets wouldn't get done.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
that's not what I was saying. I was saying at first that I thought that Loran and Dordean were already approved for the 50-50, and that our 50% that we would be paying would be coming from the street levy, and that would already be done. And then I thought that you were saying that our 50% could come from this loan that we could pay over time. And my thought was, well, why don't we just pay the 50% up front if we have it instead of spreading it out? That's what I thought. I never thought that Loran and Dordean were going to be covered 100% by our city. I thought it was going to be the 50-50 and that it was already approved. And that list is exactly the list that I was talking about that we were given. That was presented to us as like, oh no, these are the list, these are the streets that are going to get done, and it's already done, and it's in the books, and it's going to happen. And so let me make one thing clear. I want Loran and Dordean to get done. I drive on those 2 streets every day of my life, and I would really love it if I didn't, blow a tire or fear blowing a tire every time I drive. But I just want to make sure that we are approving something that makes sense and that I understand what I'm approving, because right now it doesn't seem that I understand what I'm approving. So I'm not trying to argue or fight or, turn down money for a street that needs to be repaved. I'm trying to understand where this money's coming from, what we're paying, and how all of this works in general.
Okay, so all he's asking for right now is a motion to direct him to do legislation. This is not a vote to say, let's go get this loan. So if somebody would like to make a motion to do this and go ahead and take a vote whether or not we can direct Mr. Mosby to at least start legislation on this loan, and then you have time through that process to figure all this out and we can vote on that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I would like to make a motion for administration to write up legislation to receive the loan to repave Loran and Dordean. With that motion, I would also like an email from administration explaining the street levy money, how it works, how the 50-50% works, so that way everybody can be on the same page. And I would like it to be an email so that we can look back on it and further conversation so that we can all be looking at the same document. I'm sorry, that was a very long motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. I will not try to repeat it, from Ms. Anderson.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Ms. Dukes-Dean. I think we've had enough discussion. Please call the roll.
Dukestein,
Yes.
DeWall,
No.
Zorb,
No.
Blythe,
No.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion failed 3-0. Or 3-2. Excuse me.
All right, thank you. Any other new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I did speak with Mr. Mosby about this, and it's quite possible that no answer has risen to the top. But I had asked about the salary for council for this year, and if he was able to get any answers on that.
I did look into that, and I've asked Mr. Laflamme, who is representing Mr. Dieters tonight, to provide an explanation.
Oh, you'll need a microphone or somewhere.
Okay, I don't want to be too close. So I looked into this afternoon after talking to Mr. Mosby about it. The council passed an ordinance to set their salaries at a percentage of the Hamilton County Commissioners. Those salaries for the commissioners are set by statute. I've given Mr. Mosby that statute. He did a rough calculation. We didn't have a ton of time before the meeting. But essentially you're at the point in your ordinance where you would be at 5% of the statutorily set commissioners' salaries, which, if I'm remembering, brings it in at around $5,400 at this time, I think, annually.
Yeah, a little more. I mean, basically 2019, 2020, I'm sorry, the county commissioner's salary was 105.
Yep.
And then it was supposed to increase by 1.75% every year after that.
Which is set by a separate statute for the increases. So as that goes up, obviously, the council's goes up by its increment. Does that answer your question?
I don't believe we've seen that increase this year.
So we will make sure that that is changed.
Also, last year, 2021, at the end of the year, we received an additional paycheck, so to speak. So that put our yearly income more than what it should be. Now, I was under the impression, I was told that the January took care of that. That there was a January, transaction that took care of that.
It wasn't a transaction. There was a payment that the payment that you were asking about was a payment that would have normally been received in January. It was received at the end of December, but it was not then done in January, and that's what had occurred.
Okay, so wouldn't that January payment look different?
Well, it did not occur. So in other words, the monies, and you are correct, the monies were in essence advanced. So it was received by you in December of 2021. So instead of adding, there was no
Right, so
payment that was
payment
made in
should have been made to
January.
us in January, but we were given a 2021. So in 2021, we received an extra
Correct.
paycheck, which we should not have received. So we should have received it in January at a slightly higher rate. That didn't happen. It's kind of like backwards math.
No, if you're asking about the increase, as I said, we will, Ms. Kirsten Vanderberg is here, so we'll make sure that gets adjusted. If you're talking about the payment itself, that payment was made in December of 2021, and so if there was any increase, that increase would then be added into whatever retroactive pay would be necessary for you to receive for.
Right, and I know it's all minor, but I don't know how that's going to look at the end of the year when we're supposed to make X amount of dollars, and we're not going to reach that because of that January payment being made in December.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
we'll actually probably exceed that with the new increase.
Mm-mm,
Why wouldn't we?
because we didn't get paid in January.
So we only missed one, but the increase is roughly
1.75%.
It's not a huge deal. So, well, we'll just see how it unfolds at the end of the year.
We'll make an adjustment
We'll
for
just
the
see how-
next
yeah.
for the next payment for council.
1.75%.
Yes, the ordinance that Mr. Laflamme was referring to said that after 2020 through 2028, the annual increase would be 1.75%.
If it helps, you can look at 325.10 and .18. Those are the two zoning statutes, 325.10 and .18.
Of the Ohio Revised Code.
Right.
Thank you.
I believe I already have that information at home.
Don't.
Any other new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I will second that.
Motion by Ms. DeWald with a second by Ms. Zorb to adjourn tonight's meeting. Please call the roll, Mr. Hedger.
Dukestein,
Yes.
DeWall,
Yes.
Zorb,
Yes.
Blythe,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
This meeting is adjourned.
Total income for the year.